Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, so I wanted to talk about hiding your fasting. I feel like all the Ramadan information is essential, especially if you were going to be, inshallah, fasting for the first time and the second time. But I think that, obviously my account is for reverts, people who are going through similar things as me. So I want to talk about why I hid my fast and how I did it and kind of how that went for me. This goes kind of hand in hand with being a secret Muslim. When you decide to go against what your culture is doing, what your friends and family are doing, you're stepping out of the box and you're doing something that they don't understand. A lot of people don't understand what it means essentially to be Muslim. They don't have a clue what Islam is. They're not really sure what it even means. So even if I do tell somebody I'm Muslim, they're like, oh, okay. And then you can tell they're just like, I don't even really understand that. And it's like, now that I'm actually a practicing Muslim who prays and my best to learn and follow the Sunnah, the Quran and everything, it's like, how do you explain to somebody who doesn't know what all of that is in just one little exchange? Oh, I'm Muslim. It means that all of it. So it makes it really complicated to explain to somebody what it means to be Muslim. You change your dress, you change your appearance, you change your habits, you change your lifestyle, you change your friends, you change what you're doing, etc., etc. Especially as a woman, these changes are more obvious. So psychologically, for somebody who is a revert in a Western society with friends and family who are non-Muslim, it is very hard to be like, this is why I'm doing it, because it's like a feeling where you're like, for me especially, I'm learning Islam, I want to grow my iman, my deen, I love it, it's so beautiful, alhamdulillah, but I don't really quite know how to explain to people in one little exchange what it really means. Because for me, it's about doing good, it's about being good, it's about being a good person, it's about having self-control, about not being angry, being kind to others, offering salah, following the pillars of Islam, which is like fasting Ramadan and doing zakat and stuff like this. But anyways, so back to Ramadan. So you can see for somebody like me who tried to come out to my family and be like, oh, this is what I learned about Islam, this is what I kind of am liking. When you're met with a lot of resistance and they're saying things like, don't do that, you're a freak, this is psycho, you're brainwashed, you're kind of on eggshells. You're like, I can't quite tell them, because obviously they weren't like, that's so awesome, I'm so happy for you, this is so great, you're gonna have such a wonderful life. It's like, don't do that. So it's very uncomfortable psychologically. For me, it was very stressful, because I'm like, obviously my close circles, my community, my society dictates that Islam is bad, that I shouldn't be Muslim, that this isn't for me, that all the crazy misconceptions and stereotypes, right? So it's like, when you feel that pressure and you go check in with people you love and they make it clear, we don't approve, we don't want you to do that, and that's not good for you, you feel a sense of pressure to conform, right? So for me, I felt a pressure to conform, but I was like, I'm not going to conform, so I'm just going to hide it. If you want to tell me that you don't condone, you don't approve of me, then I'm just not going to tell you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of what feels like conditional love, because for me, I try and be open-minded. I want people to come to me and be able to approach me, be able to be like, tell me how they're feeling, what they're going through. And I want to make my close friends and family, people who want to come to me with how they feel, I want to make them feel special and important. I want to make them feel loved even when they are different than me. You know what I mean? So if I have a friend who comes to me and they're telling me something, and even if I don't agree with it, I respect that this is their life and that they have the right to do what they want, to be who they want, to, free will, right? So it's like, even if I don't agree, I will express my opinion, I will say my concerns, but at the end of the day, I respect people enough to be like, okay, you want to do that? That's your thing. It's your life, not mine. And I don't want them to feel uncomfortable when they come back to me and be like, ooh, I talked to Candace and she was really nasty about me about this. To be like, I can't come back and follow up. So I will go out of my way, because I can have the emotional intelligence to anticipate they may feel awkward or uncomfortable after opening up to me and having, when people really care about something, they're worried about what others think. I know what that's like. So, I will follow up and I will be like, hey, how's it going? How are you feeling? Did you change your mind? How's your struggle or your journey or whatever it is we talked about? But, unfortunately for me, I didn't have that kind of respect from people in my life. Alhamdulillah. I tried really delicately to compare how I was raised and the similarities, focus on the similarities between Islam and Christianity. Like, oh, did you know that we weren't supposed to eat pork as a Christian? Or like, hey, the Bible says there is benefit in alcohol, but that it does more harm than good, so that we shouldn't drink. I tried to come from a place of what they could understand and make it less threatening, make it less scary. I didn't come right out and say I'm Muslim, right? So when you don't come out and just say, I'm Muslim, I pray, this is what I do, and you don't have that confidence, people really don't understand. So they didn't understand in private and my alone time. I'm like learning this religion, I'm learning Arabic, I'm learning how to pray, I'm doing all these things to try and better myself and grow closer to God. And it's just psychologically for somebody like that, it's very difficult because you start having the two identities. And you start being who they want me to be around them and your old version of yourself, which, this is an identity crisis issue. I've noticed that a lot of reverts are having this kind of identity crisis, alhamdulillah, because we are being pressured in our circles not to be who we are becoming. We're being encouraged to stay the same and to go the opposite way. Like, for example, I thought it was so crazy. The more modest I became, the more people are like, you look better in shorts. You shouldn't wear that. Why are you wearing all these clothes? Oh, you've got a beautiful figure. Or like, why would you want to take off your fake eyelashes? Like, I wore fake eyelashes every day. So that was like a big deal to me to take it off. And then to have somebody like your mother or your sister or your friend be like, you look better with it. You judge yourself and you're like, socially, emotionally, this is a very confusing topic, which is why I want to help reverts, right? Because it's like, how do you navigate this kind of stuff? Alhamdulillah. But when it came to Ramadan, it's really easy to see that I wasn't going to be like, hey, it's Ramadan, and I'm really excited because I'm fasting for a month. My first Ramadan was in 2019. Alhamdulillah. And the masjids were open because it was not coronavirus. Like, I live in SoCal, so my family lives 8 to 9 hours away from me by car. So I had the privacy at least to be able to fast without them being in my hair, without them being here and being like, why are you waking up in the night and this and that. But needless to say, I had roommates who were non-Muslim, and I was really afraid to be like, hey, I know you think I'm like a regular white girl, but I actually am a Muslim and I fast and I do XYZ. And, people say like, well, why do you have to tell them you did that? Why do you have to say that you're fasting? And it's like, you just feel socially awkward. Maybe you get a little bit of a glimpse into the life of a revert and the emotional and psychological and social issues we're trying to navigate while, our faith is growing. We are being guided, alhamdulillah, to the deen. But for me, psychologically, it was really hard because I was being told to stay the same. I was being told what I was doing was bad. I was being told I was more valuable as an American than as an Muslim, if you will. And so when it came to Ramadan, it was really hard for me to be like, hey, I'm fasting. And it's like I was really excited because it was my first Ramadan and I had roommates. So the thing is like, if you're a revert and you are living away from your family and you have a private room, you have a little bit more liberty, a little bit more freedom, because you can retreat to your room. And in your room, in my room, I'm safe to pray. I'm safe to put on a prayer dress. It's safe for me to take my carpet out and to pray my salah. And, but would I ever walk out of my room in a prayer dress? No, because if you walk out of your room in a prayer dress and an American sees you, they will freak out. Trust me. They will be like, what is that? Because if you're not Muslim, you've never seen that in America. You may have seen a hijabi at the mall, but because they don't even understand what it is, they may be able to identify the person, but they don't really understand any of it, right? So for somebody like me practicing Islam in my bedroom and having my privacy, it's like outside of my room, my roommates didn't know what I was doing. They didn't know that I was Muslim. They didn't know any of this stuff. So it was really like difficult to try and merge the worlds and be like, okay, it's about to be Ramadan. I've got to make my sahur. I have to be up early. 'Cause, I mean, psychologically, there's a lot of issues. You feel pressured to stay hiding in secret. So then it's like when it came to fasting and having my sahur and stuff like this, I was worried about being discovered. It was never an issue of how am I going to fast. It was mostly an issue of how am I going to do it with nobody finding out. So I would make my sahur and I'd put it in my room, and I would do everything I could to be as quiet as possible when I woke up so that my roommates didn't know, what is she doing? Why is she up? Why is she doing this? Because I was afraid after, it's conditioned response. So in psychology, you have things that when you have a behavior and it's followed up with an action, you get a conditioned response. So for me, my conditioned response was I tried telling my friends and family I was Muslim, tried talking about it. I had a very bad reaction. I was bullied. I was called names. So my conditioned response was that I didn't want to tell them. I knew that if I opened up about who I am and my religion to people, that they would inadvertently or blatantly just call me names and telling me I was crazy and talk me out of it. So I must have psychologically and emotionally protected myself by just knowing that I can't tell people and knowing that they don't understand me and knowing that I have to keep it secret. My first Ramadan, I did try and tell family members that I was fasting, and I was met with more criticism on this is why this religion is bad. This is why you shouldn't do this. That is crazy. It is dysfunctional. What kind of, astaghfirullah, like what kind of God would make you go without food and water? And it's so crazy, subhanAllah, because I'm like, Jesus fasted. I did try and have conversations about the benefits of fasting. I tried to pair it with intermittent fasting facts because it's the same thing about, going without food and water puts your body in a special state of cleaning where you're getting rid of toxins, you're getting rid of any kind of cancerous cells, you're getting rid of all of this bad stuff in your body. It's going to help your mind, your blood sugar. I mean, subhanAllah, it's so crazy. I tried saying, like when why is the body's natural response when you don't feel good, whether it is your dog or it is you or your baby, and you notice they're not wanting food and water, it's usually that they're sick. So that's like the body's natural reaction to go without food and water because our bodies can repair themselves, subhanAllah. It's so crazy. So it's like, I tried using these little facts to be like, oh, well, did you know? And to associate it with intermittent fasting, which is something that is acceptable in our society. There's actually some kind of like intermittent fasting diet where you do, I think it's 16 and 8. So you only eat and drink for 8 hours a day. And then for 16 hours, you go without food and water. I'm like, subhanAllah, that's crazy. And what was really interesting for me was like, people think that that's okay. Like if I were to be like, hey, I'm doing an intermittent fasting diet, this is just what I do, I only eat during this hours and this hours, people would be like, oh, that's cool, wow, you have so much self-control and that's really crazy, I bet that's really good for you, and they would listen. But the second I say I'm doing fasting for Ramadan for 30 days to purify my body, it's super awesome for you emotionally, spiritually, physically, then I met with, that's not okay, that's crazy, that's weird, you're wrong. As I was fasting, it was really hard because it was my first year. It was summer, and the fast was from mid-May to mid-June. The days were like 16 hours long, alhamdulillah. And it was just really long. It was really hot. I was working full-time. I was outside a lot. I was doing a lot of like activity while I was working. And, on top of it, I had like my parents calling me. People ask me, how did I come out to my family? And I didn't come out to everybody. I still have family members that don't even really know. So I guess it's because they don't all live together and they don't all talk about me. They just don't talk often. So where one person knows that I'm fasting and knows that I'm doing Ramadan, another one didn't even know at all. I just would be like, hey, how's it going? I would try and talk to them after I broke my fast so that I had energy and stuff like that. So I basically did that my whole first Ramadan. And like I said, alhamdulillah, it's like if you're not a revert, it's really hard to understand these struggles, these emotional struggles, these social struggles. It's really weird going against your cultural and social norms. It gets really painful whenever your family disapproves. It's really hard to navigate, and when you're doing this in secret. So, I had a lot of sisters, I've mentioned this before, that I've had a lot of sisters who messaged me after I opened up about it. As we approached Ramadan of last year, I was like, oh yeah, what was my number one takeaway of the first year is that it's so scary making sahur and getting up to start your fast for the day around non-Muslims, because they don't understand why you're getting up to eat. They don't understand why you're suddenly up in the middle of the night. So last year before Ramadan, I had a few little revert friends on my Instagram, and I'm like, some of them are fasting for the first time maybe. Let me give them some of my tricks that I learned from my first year. My biggest tip was make oatmeal, put your fruit, put your peanut butter, your black seeds, your honey, put the lid on the Tupperware and get a spoon, bring it to your room and leave it in your room. Because if you do that when you go to bed, it's not going to go bad. You can totally eat at room temperature. You do not have to heat it up. It technically doesn't need to be cold. And that way, for me, I was able to wake up, go to the bathroom, do wudu, and sit in my room and eat my already prepared meal. And that meant that I wasn't going out to the kitchen. It meant that I wasn't making a lot of noise, because for a roommate, it's totally normal, or if your roommates are roommates, or if your roommates are parents, it's normal to hear somebody go to the bathroom in the night, and nobody ever says, why are you up going to the bathroom? Because they know that that's a natural thing. People do have to wake up and go to the bathroom in the night. But when they hear you waking up and they hear you in the kitchen, cooking, using the microwave, whatever, then they're like, why are you up in the kitchen in the middle of the night? Why are you eating in the middle of the night? What are you doing? So it alerts your household. Will wake people up. They will have questions. It's very uncomfortable sometimes. So I'm in my oatmeal. I set it in my room for sahur every night. I put my phone, another thing that was very stressful, I put my phone on vibrate, because if my alarm was going off at 4 a.m., same thing. They're going to be like, why is your alarm going off at 4 a.m.? Why are you trying to wake up in the middle of the night? So I put it on vibrate, and I set 8,000 alarms just so it would buzz, 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 and wake me up so I wouldn't miss eating in the morning. So overall, alhamdulillah, it's very difficult if we are approaching Ramadan and you are in one of these hostile living situations, or you are not. Maybe you're working, maybe it's your living situation. There are a lot of factors that make us feel very uncomfortable, judged, threatened, hurt, rejected. These are very common feelings, I feel like, for reverts, because people just don't understand. So what I always think about is that Allah gives guidance to who He wills. He has guided you for a reason. He has guided me for a reason. And although we don't always understand and it's not easy, I look to the prophets, peace be upon them all. They were so great. They were so amazing. They're so much better than us. They were chosen. They were perfect. They had beautiful behavior. They were like amongst the best of us, right? And it's like, if they were given really, really difficult struggles, then I can get through whatever is making me uncomfortable. But really, it just takes patience. And it just takes knowing that not everybody is going to understand it. Every Friday I read Surah Al-Kahf, and it says that true guidance comes from God alone, and those without it will never be rightly guided. So I think about, would I rather fast my little Ramadan in secret? Would I rather be dumb and ignorant and unguided and be, to a degree how I was before, just living my life with no deeper purpose or meaning? I know that it is not always easy, but I would not trade all of my struggles in the world for anything, because I just feel like I now have such a sense of understanding about life and what it means to be alive and what the point is, that, I know it's a test. It's going to be hard. Do we think that we're going to be given a test and we're going to know all the answers and we're just going to get an A on everything? That's not life. Anyways, I guess the purpose of this video was to let you know, if you are a revert and we're approaching Ramadan, this is my journey, this is what's happened to me. I pray that you have ease and that your family accepts you, that your friends support you, and that you do not go through all the painful things I went through, inshallah. But it's going to be okay. If you are having to fast in secret, you're going to get through it. It's not going to kill us to be judged, to have our, to feel rejected, to feel misunderstood. We have each other. There is great power in being able to connect. Because for me, when I made my first few little revert friends and was able just to be like, dude, right? It like made such a difference, because you can try and talk to a non-Muslim friend and be like, so this is what's going on, but they don't really understand the essence of what it is to be Muslim. So it's like, they can talk to you, but even if they listen to you and they love you and they support you, they do not study it. Their faith is not the same, obviously. And you're just never going to see eye to eye completely. So they can offer you support and they can be nice and maybe say happy Ramadan or something to you, and that'll make you feel special and, validated. But it will get easier, inshallah. We have each other, and, you guys are all in my dua. And I pray that we make it to Ramadan, first of all, and I pray that we have ease and we fast it and we have sabr and we make it through the blessed month. Ameen. I will make some other videos for you guys on, more of these topics, but this was just kind of, I guess, my experience. So anyways, have a great day. I love you.